Just Fantasy Baseball. Your host, Colby Olson, back here with Clay Snowden as well to give you a waiver wire episode to remember forever because we are coming with some good players to talk about, some really interesting streaming options, if I must say so myself. But you gotta wait for the end of the episode to find out who we've got as our streamers for the week. But they're a little out there, but I think they're gonna get the job done. They might shock you a little bit. But first, at the top of the hour here, I do want to talk about Clay. I want to talk about Yuri Perez, his first start. I don't know if you got to watch any of it. Did you see any of it live?
I was in the car on the way to a fishing trip, so I did not, but I was keeping tabs and watching the highlights.
Did you catch any good fish? That's probably the most important question, actually.
20 fish day on Saturday, so a great outing. Went with my father-in-law and brother-in-law their first time fly fishing, so they caught some fish too.
So it's all catch and release, correct?
Delayed harvest stream. You have to catch and release. Yep.
Okay. Because I do love a nice fresh caught fish. I,
Yeah.
I love fish. I saw the pictures of the fish. They're beautiful fish, but I've been fishing once in my life and I enjoyed it. And it's definitely something that I would like to do again.
Come on down to Kentucky, man. I'll take you out fishing.
All right, we got to do an in-person episode of Just Fantasy
Oh,
Baseball. But to get back on topic here is I did watch Yuri Perez first start. It was it was a sight, man. He gave up 2 home runs. He gave up 2 solo home runs over 4 2/3, 7 strikeouts, 2 walks, just 4 hits. I mean, he looks as advertised. That curveball is nasty. The fastball gets on guys. I mean, every pitch was as advertised, and the confidence and finesse that he showed as a 6'8" rookie making his debut was as advertised. Like, he was the number 4 prospect in baseball. Like, I might even say that he's the number 1 prospect in baseball. Like, he looked like that. So yeah, it was as advertised, and I would say that if you picked up Yuri Perez, hold on to him. See what happens the next start after that. See how long the Marlins keep him up here. But yeah, he went 4 2/3 against the Reds in his first start. I would imagine, I would hope that he goes 5 or 6 in his next start. We'll see. I would imagine that the Marlins keep him on a little bit of a shorter leash. I don't think they're gonna try to overwork him at this point in his career. But man, he had wipeout stuff as advertised, like strikeout stuff with not a lot of walks. So we love that.
yeah, and I think one of his home runs was to Tyler Stevenson, and it was like a fastball in the inside part of the plate, and that's just probably a scouting report thing where it was just lucky because Stevenson does not hit for much power, and he pushes everything to right field. So to see Stevenson turn on a ball and hit a home run, a pull side home run, was shocking to me as well. So I don't even look at that as an issue for him.
That's a really, without watching the game, that's a really good comment, Clay, because it did look like he knew it was coming. Like, he
Yeah.
knew the gear up for a fastball, like inner half, and just explode. Because you're right, you do not see Tyler Stevenson do that much. Like, he is a spray the ball all fields hitter with not much power. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was interesting. Also, before we get into like who we want to talk about for potential pickups and waiver this week, I did want to backtrack a little bit to last week. You weren't on the show, but I obviously talked about Matt Mervis, who struggled a little bit this week, which fair enough. He's making his debut, and sometimes it does take 50, 100 plate appearances to get going. So I wouldn't drop him yet. I would hold on to him for now because I do think that that will pay dividends by the time we reach June. Like, Matt Mervis isn't going away anytime soon. He is going to stay up with the Cubs for the time being. But Tristan Casas is who I wanted to bring up because I brought him up as a guy to pick up. If you missed out on Matt Mervis, Tristan Casas was a great option. And last week he hit 2 home runs, a double, good for a 329 WRC plus last week, struck out just 14% of the time, walked 21% of the time. Obviously, small sample, 14 plate appearances. But like, in just a week, he's already showing why the peripheral numbers look so good before last week. And then this week, he's just taking it to another level, continuing to put in good at bats, hit the ball hard, hit the ball in the air. The one thing we did talk about pre-show with Casas, though, is that he is somewhat of a platoon bat against lefties, but I don't see that as much of an issue.
Yeah, it's not a huge issue, especially if you have room on your roster to have, the luxury of a platoon bat. And over his past 2 weeks, 346, 438, 615, 2 home runs, and only 5 strikeouts. So a player who's been looking much better than, what we originally saw, 11% barrel rate and a 42.3% hard hit rate. I like him. I know it's a player that we talk about often, but this Red Sox lineup, it's not bad. It is not bad at all. And if you can pick him up, as long as you have room to kind of have the luxury of a platoon bat, maybe you have somebody who's kind of underwhelming at first base or your utility spot, and you can kind of filter them in and out.
Absolutely. So, Clay, now we're going to break into breaking down some of the waiver wire guys that we want to talk about this week. I'm just going to bring up the names. We don't usually do this on the show, but I'm going to bring up the names now, and you can pick. Like, we'll do a little draft on like who we want to talk
Okay.
about first. So in this episode, we're going to talk about Joey Gallo, Christopher Morel, Dominic Fletcher, Marcelo Zuna, and also Brandon Marsh. So I'll let you take first pick. You talk about whoever you want, and I'll counter.
All right. So my guy is Christopher Morel, and I've just been a huge fanboy of his ever since he came up. Yeah, he just got called up. This was his first week with the Cubs this season. 381, 381. That's not that is correct. Same on base as average. 857. He had 3 home runs this week and stole a base. In the minors this year, 11 home runs, 330 average, 425 on base with a 730 slug. I love this player because not only is he showing that he has pop, and he showed that last year as well, you can play him all over the place with the position flexibility. The one concern is the strikeouts. And that was an issue last year that we saw, and it's an issue in the minors this year as well, and coming into the majors. I think he struck out in every game that he's played so far.
He
And
has. He
a
has.
game or two with 2 strikeouts, if I remember right. He's somebody who's going to strike out 30% of the time. So,
Yeah.
in order to have good value, he's going to have to continue hitting home runs, sprinkle in some stolen bases. But even if you pick him up as a bench option and just use him to fill in here and there, and start him while someone else is in a slump or whatever, I just love the versatility for him in fantasy.
Well, he clearly took it personally, getting sent down to
Yeah.
begin the year. Like beginning this year in AAA, I think he definitely took that personally because through 29 games in AAA, I think we talked about Morel last episode, but I'm going to bring him back up because like in 29 games, he had 11 home runs and 4 stolen bases, a 400 isolated power. Like unbelievable. You do not see that. And now he started his first 4 games at the big league level with 2 bombs. And you go back to last year, the numbers at the big league level, like they were good, right? A 108 WRC plus. He only hit 235, but the power was there. He walks a good amount. He has a feel for the zone. Beyond chase, like he does chase and does whiff, but he does take walks as well, which will allow him to stay on rosters. But you look at the barrel percentage last year, Clay, 13.4% barrel rate last year. And I imagine that it's higher this year, like hitting 11 home runs in 29 games at AAA and then already 2 home runs. Like he has a feel for his swing right now beyond whiffing.
Yeah. And he hit a home run today. So I don't think Fangraphs has updated that. We
Oh,
are
3
recording on
home
Sunday.
runs in 5 games. Like,
Yeah.
my God.
Yeah.
That's
So
unreal.
and there's spots for him to play. And that's what I love. It's not like he is shoehorned into one position that the Cubs are going to have to make tough decisions on. He can play around the field some. I kind of like this Cubs team. I don't love them, but I kind of like what they have to offer. I think run production is possible. It's not some black hole.
Well, the interesting thing about this Cubs team is like they don't have, it's not like superstars are
Yeah.
filled with this team. It's just a lineup top to bottom, 1 through 9, that has average to above average hitters, like top to bottom. There's nobody in this lineup where I'm like, this guy's an automatic out, unless Eric Hosmer's in the lineup. If Eric Hosmer's in the lineup, yes, he's an automatic out. The one thing that Christopher Morel, the challenge is that he's owned right now in 63% of leagues. So you might have a little bit of trouble finding him on your waiver, but I think there's still a little bit time, but I'm like,
Yeah.
this
And
might
it's
be
funny because
this is the last sprinkling of time to get Morel on your roster.
I'm looking right now. It's 15% in ESPN, but I
Are
don't
you
think that
kidding
those
me?
numbers update quickly enough. So it's crazy. Like I feel like everyone is picking him up either this morning or yesterday. So I feel like those numbers are going to skyrocket very quickly.
I have to believe so. I would say that that does follow the trend though. Like Yahoo leagues do tend to have these players added more so
Mhm.
than ESPN leagues. I don't know why that is. Maybe because more people play 8 team leagues on ESPN. I don't know. There could be a multitude of reasons. Maybe
I don't know either. I cannot. I've tried to figure it out, and I don't have any answers.
sharper players play on Yahoo. Like it is kind of an older thing. Like nobody is going out of their way to make a Yahoo email account anymore in the year 2023.
Yeah, that's very true.
All right, let me go next. I want to talk about Brandon Marsh for a second. Marsh is another player that's owned and he's owned in 55% of leagues, so you could probably find him in your league. Marsh started the year on an absolute tear, Clay. But he's cooled off as of late in his last 45 plate appearances, a 33% K rate, 18% walk rate, but just a 194 batting average, a 356 on base percentage, but just a 250 slug. That's a 69 WRC plus. So high strikeout rate. Yes, on base percentage is good, but if there's not a lot of power to come along with that, then there is some concern there. But the reason that I wanted to bring him up is that over the last 14 days, he has the second highest hard hit rate in baseball behind Bo Bichette at 68%. So while he is struggling, he is hitting the absolute piss out of the baseball. The problem with Marsh is that a lot of that contact does come on the ground, which does have it is a problem, right? He has a
Yeah.
48.6% ground ball rate, which is why, the home run numbers aren't insane as they should be. He only has 4 home runs this year. But with that hard hit rate, like I feel like there is something to dream on. So I wouldn't say like go run and pick him up or anything, but like this is definitely a watch list guy for me. Like see what
Yeah.
happens.
And depending on your team, it could make sense to pick him up right away. It's just the issue right now has been the production in the past 2 weeks. 2 runs, 2 RBIs. Like he's not going to appear on the sort by most points scored or most, whatever in the past 2 weeks. He's not going to appear on that list at the top. But like you said, he is still impacting the baseball. So definitely a guy to watch. The guy I want to talk about next, Colby, I don't love at all. And I don't think you do either. But we've got to talk about it. Is Marcell Ozuna. His season
I'm
totals
glad
are
you no,
terrible.
I'm glad you're taking this.
Yes, I figured I would. His season totals are terrible. 169, 282, 416, 7 home runs. Okay, 13% barrel rate, 43% hard hit rate, exact same as last year. His 89.5 exit velo, exact same as last year. It's kind of crazy. It's just like he's cloning last year. Now, the past month, he's played better 245, 351,
No,
571. And
that's not even
all,
fair. That's not even fair. Don't bring out the last month. Clay, he started the year from March 30th to April 26th. He was hitting 085, 194, 203. He
yeah,
had just 3 extra base hits in that span, was striking out 27% of the time, but also had an 077 BABIP, which is the least sustainable thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Then, since May has started, from May 2nd until now, he has an 11% strikeout rate, a 17% walk rate. He has 5 home runs and all of his run production over that span, right? So the question is this the real Marcell Ozuna? Or is the first month the real Marcell Ozuna? Or is it somewhere in the middle? It's probably somewhere in the middle. And I don't even know if that's rosterable. I don't know. I don't know.
yeah.
I'm not
And
even
I have him
pretend to
on here
know.
because for me personally, I picked him up because I need an outfielder badly, and I need a ride a hot hand because I dropped Marsh at actually in my 10-person league. So I needed someone. He's produced the past week or so. Both of us don't think it's going to continue, but he's not owned in a high percent of leagues. He has been a good player in the past. Like it's not a bad flyer to take because especially because he's not going to strike out. He's not
This is
going to
a
be a
streaming option.
35%
This is a
strikeout guy
hitter
that's going to
streamer,
tank you.
right? Like this is a hitter, their classic Chris Carter. streamer where like, oh, he's hit 3 home runs in the past week. Let's pick him up and see where it goes because
Yeah.
he's seeing the ball well right now. So yeah, I think it can't hurt to pick him up on your roster for the time being. Clay, who's been really good as of late? And I didn't even expect to talk about him, but like Marcelo Zuna kind of shifted me to this because his strikeout rate drastically declined over the last week. Javier Baez has been very good.
Yeah,
I'm actually gonna say he's been very good. Like since this is a big sample too. Since April 13th, this is a 103 plate appearance sample. He has a 16.5% strikeout rate. Yes, he's not walking. 5% walk rate. You don't expect Javier Baez to walk. You actually don't want him to walk. Put the ball in play, but he's not striking out. He is hitting 323 over that span. He has a 484 slugging percentage over that span, 3 stolen bases, 3 home runs. He is very rosterable, and I very well might be wrong, and I would be gladly be wrong about my preseason take that I will just stay far, far away from anything Javier Baez. But how could you
I
expect
picked him up.
this?
He's on my team right now, and I recently wrote an article at
62% owned.
justbaseball.com article breaking down how he's looking now is with he's just not swinging and missing at fastballs and sliders like he did in the past, which is a huge sign for a player who's available out there. Now he's been picked up quite a bit over the past week, but he's going to play every single day. He's going to bat pretty high up in that lineup. And there's a non-zero chance that he returns to being a plus player. Like we've seen it in stretches. When he's focused, he's good. Definitely an option to roster right now. I thought that you
no,
were going
I
with
don't
Joey
even think an
Gallo.
option. Like, I think that is must add.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, if he continues to put up a sub 20% strikeout rate, he should be able to return top 150 value.
A little bit of insight on his power, too. Like, nobody was hitting home runs early in the year in Detroit. Miserable weather. The ball did not carry at all. He didn't look very good either, don't get me wrong. But it's still possible for him to, enjoy the summer months with a bit more power.
The funniest
Speaking
thing
of power, Joey Gallo,
I
your
know,
guy?
but I'm gonna move to him in a second. But still, Javier Baez has just 2 barrels on the season. I don't even know how that's possible. Like for as hard as he swings, how do you not hit more barrels than just 2 on the year? I digress. Joey Gallo is a must talk about guy that we have not talked about at all on this show, and is almost following the Brandon Marsh model, or Brandon Marsh is following the Joey Gallo model. Like Joey Gallo is back to his ways of being a very high strikeout guy that is just a freak show when it comes to the power department, right? Like you go back to Joey Gallo in 2017, 2018, back-to-back 40 home run seasons, an ISO, near 300 or over 300. He was striking out 36, 37% of the time, hitting 200, but it didn't matter because he was driving in a ton of runs and hitting nukes. And that's exactly what he's doing again, man. He's hitting 209. He has 8 home runs on the year, but he also has a 333 on base percentage. So like it's almost, you can stomach it if you play in a points league or an OBP league because he has so much juice in there that like there is enough value there. He really struggled over the last, like, before this past week, he's come alive a little bit. But before that, he was on a stretch where he was 0 for 28. So it
Yeah.
was a brutal stretch for him. And he does go in those stretches. He still had a 250 OBP over that span, though. Like he's still getting on base. So Gallo, how much is he owned right now?
While you look that up, I
25%.
just want to
He's
mention he has a
25%.
95 mile per hour average exit velocity and a 59.6% hard hit rate. Like he's doing what Joey Gallo does, striking out and hitting the ball really, really hard.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, man. I think he's deserving of being rostered at least more places than he is right now because he does have outfield eligibility. There's got to be somebody on your team where you're like Michael Conforto, like drop Michael Conforto or drop one of those guys for Joey Gallo. I'd much rather have Joey Gallo, especially in points leagues and OBP. if average is a main component of your league, yeah, it might really hurt you. And I know, Clay, you play in some leagues where strikeouts hurt a
Yeah.
lot. So like Gallo might not be an option for you. Um, Gallo is an option for somebody out there though. Like there's somebody out there that could really use a Joey Gallo in their life. And it might be me.
And if you're in a league that values average higher than, some points leagues and whatnot, one player to talk about is Dominic Fletcher. Was recently called up by Arizona. Small sample size, but the slash is 462, 488, 722, 744 with
Yeah, I
two
mean,
home
stop the
runs.
season.
What's that?
I think he's gonna continue hitting 462.
Yeah. Well, in the minors, he hit 323 with three home runs, and he's always been a low strikeout guy, around 14%. And so far, small sample size, the average exit velocity, 92.6 with a 45.7% hard hit rate. There is some concern about playing time. We know about the outfield in Arizona. There's a lot of players, and it's still possible that Jake McCarthy at some time can come back up and steal some playing time as well. But Fletcher was unprotected in the Rule 5 and did not get selected. I did not even know that until RM tweeted that out. And it's
That was a
driving me crazy
crazy
as a Reds fan who would love to have Dominic Fletcher on that
that was
team.
a crazy tweet.
But, if he can continue playing this well, I think that the playing time issues could disappear a little bit. I mean, you can put Gurriel at DH and have Fletcher in left field,
Yeah.
Thomas and Carroll. Like, you can figure it out.
Well, he's your classic, like he's prototypical platoon bat too, because he doesn't hit lefties well. He rakes against righties, and the sample size of him controlling the zone and being a good hitter spans back to 2022, Clay. Right in AAA in 2022, 101 games. His strikeout rate was under 20%. He hit 301. Right? Like the numbers we're seeing right now, at least in AAA this year, again, hitting 323 with a 14.7% K rate, like improving, but doing kind of what he did last year. And then he comes to the big leagues and he's mashing against righties, hitting the ball decently hard. Like, yeah, I think definitely this is a guy that in deeper leagues, why not take a flyer if he's getting playing time and controlling the zone? For sure.
Should we get to streamers?
Yes, we should absolutely get to streamers. This is the most excited I've been to give out a streamer, I think, all year. So I'm gonna go second.
Full disclosure, our weekend streamers, which when we record for Friday, there's not much opportunity, so they did not go too well. Not great weekend streamers. We apologize for that. We will bounce back this week with these just
No, you're
ironclad
not gonna say
streamers
his
that we
name.
have.
You're not gonna say his name.
I am Michael Lorenzen
No,
versus the
no. Before we get into Michael Lorenzen, you're not gonna say Jake Irvin's name. Like you were hyping him
Jake
up.
Irvin was pitching well. That's why I wore the Mets hat today, is because the Mets got to Jake Irvin. I
Like I'm
suggested as a
laughing because I
deep.
laughed. I laughed at you when you brought him up in the last episode.
It was a deep leaguer, man. 1% owned. He looked good through about
Three
four
innings.
or through 4 innings, and then the fifth inning fell apart. Happens, right? Okay.
If you didn't follow along for Jake Irvin, look up Jake Irvin's box score.
Michael Lorenzen versus the Pirates on Tuesday. Michael Lorenzen's not a pitcher I particularly love. I want to get that out of the way, but he's going to be pitching at home against a league
I mean, these
average
aren't supposed
offense.
to be ones we like.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they're fine. They're fine. It could happen. Pirates are about league average in WRC plus. They've cooled off from that super hot start that they've had. Now, Michael Lorenzen, one or less runs allowed in 3 of his 5 starts. The other 2 starts, 5 runs and 6 runs. So he kind of got blown up a little bit. Last 2 outings, each went 7 innings of 1 earned run. And he looked a little bit better. I watched that last outing and he started to look better. And I think the big change is that he's mostly using fastball, changeup, and slider instead of using all like 5 of his pitches.
Mm.
And the fastball batting average 154 and the changeup 138 and the slider 238. And he used those. I think he threw like 36 fastballs, 25 changeups, and 24 sliders, something like that. And then like 4 and 5 of sweeper, and then I don't even remember what the other pitch was, but I think he's fine tuning what he's throwing a little bit. And I could see this working. Like, I don't think he'll be somebody who's going to throw, 9 shutout innings. But in terms of streamers, he's shown that he can go deep into a game, which helps right off the top. At home, I like that a lot. And against the Pirates, a team that I'm not exactly like terrified of, especially because Brian Reynolds has been struggling. Like, I I think this streamer may actually work out.
I like it. No, my like top line analysis on Michael Lorenzen is he would fit the streamer build very
Yeah.
nicely because he gets a ton of ground balls and should do well against bad teams, right?
Mhm.
That's kind of the what you're keying in on here. So I agree, man. I think this is a great streamer, and he's gone 7 innings in back-to-back starts. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Ground ball rate over his last 3 starts is 55%. So yeah, he's not going to rack up a ton of strikeouts for you, but he's limiting walks, getting ground balls, should be able to go deep into a game for you, pick up a quality start and a win. You would hope. So who are they playing again?
The Pirates.
They've been struggling over the last few weeks. So I love it, man. I love it. I I back this one more than Jake Irvin. So I apologize for laughing at you for Jake Irvin, but it was laughable a little bit.
Sometimes you just got to try. It's a half court shot.
It is a half court shot. I think Lorenzen is more like a 3-pointer.
Yeah.
My streamer option, I'm gonna laugh at this one, but I'm actually dead serious about it, is Patrick Corbin. It's Patrick Corbin, and he's facing the Mets, and you're probably hearing that, and you might be throwing up in your mouth, and I wouldn't blame you a little bit. The Mets don't hit lefties that well, though. They have a 101 WRC plus against lefties this year. Dating back to last year, they didn't hit lefties well last year either. You look at the matchup that Corbin has against these Mets, like by a player specifically. Pete Alonso historically has matched against Corbin. He has 5 home runs against him, a 492 expected WOBA, a 517 WOBA. Like absolutely destroys Corbin. But beyond that, not many of these Mets hitters have fared well against Corbin historically, right? Starling Marte, below average. Nimmo, below average. McNeil, below average. Lindor, below average against Corbin. Eduardo Escobar has fared well against Corbin, 2 home runs. But like many of the mainstays in this Mets lineup have not fared well against Patrick Corbin. So you're probably thinking, well, Colby, like I get that, but Patrick Corbin is not who he used to be. So, like, do those numbers even matter? Well, I would even argue that, like, Patrick Corbin has been sneaky good lately. He has quality starts in 4 out of his last 5 outings, right? So he's going deep into ball games. He's actually picking up some strikeouts in these outings, too. He's had 6 strikeouts in 2 of his last 5 outings, getting plenty of ground balls. The slider has a whiff rate of 35% on the year. So, yes, Patrick Corbin is not a good pitcher, but that's the point. You key on the matchups. He's owned in 4% of leagues, and I think he comes away with a quality start here and possibly even a win, man. The Mets have not been playing good baseball at all lately, right? I think the same reason that you keyed in on Jake Irvin against this Mets lineup is the same reason that I'm keying in on Patrick Corbin, but I have even more data to key in on this, right? Patrick Corbin, those numbers I was throwing out against this Mets lineup, dude, that's 237 plate appearances. So that's a huge sample. Like the struggles that Lindor and Marte and all of those guys have had against Corbin dates back a while, and I think it still holds true today. So Corbin is my guy this week.
I love it. I love it.
Did that fire you up a little bit?
I'm going to watch that game now. I probably would not have beforehand.
It's Monday at 4:05 p.m. Like, could you think of a grosser slate? Oh, they're also facing David Peterson, the Nationals. And the Nationals, here's another reason you should love this one. The Nationals have a top 10 WRC plus this year against lefties, a 109 WRC plus against lefties. David Peterson has been abysmal when he's been up. He has been giving up rockets left and right and center all over the ballpark. So love this matchup. Absolutely love this matchup. Patrick Corbin's probably going to give up 6 earned runs over.
Go Nats, baby.
You got anything else, man? Anything else?
Corey Seager's coming back. So those of you like me who own Corey Seager, the wait's over. That's all I got.
Seager, cannot wait to get Corey Seager back. All right. Corey Seager is doing rehab assignment right now in Double A, Frisco. So when does he come back? Like next week?
They said as early as this week. As early as.
He was on fire before he went down, too. Okay, that's exciting. We'll finish that. Hey, and you know what? Go Celtics. Clay and I are
Go
both Celtics fans,
Celtics.
so we're fired up tonight. We're recording this right after the Celtics just won Game 7. So just fantasy baseball's also sometimes we're sometimes basketball fans too. So
Celtics are 1-0 since Colby got a mustache.
I am rocking a mustache. Favorite mustache in the big leagues right now. That's actually the closer to the episode.
I mean, Strider's kind of got the iconic like mustache game, right? But favorite, I don't know, man. I would have to think about that.
No, you said it. It's Strider.
Yeah.
That mustache is so thick and full, and he just it adds at least like a few percent K rate.
Andrew Chafin's had a good mustache in the past, and here and
He
there.
looks like Snuffleupagus.
What's that?
You know Snuffleupagus?
No,
Like he's a Muppet.
I don't know the Muppets, man. I'm sorry.
Wow. All right. Well, that'll do it. Just fantasy baseball. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. We'll be back sometime this week, talk about just like news and updates and do one of those types of episodes again. I hope you guys like it. Let us know how we're doing. Send us a message. Tell us what you want to hear some more of. Give us player ideas. We're happy to talk about anything at any time. We love just talking fantasy baseball. So reach out to us on Twitter. And yeah, thanks for listening, guys. Adios.